like that's the silent part. I didn't want to say it.
That's okay. That's my job. Let's see. How to philosophy. There's that. Boom. All right. In theory, I should be streaming. Someone let me know if it's not working on the tubes. Elderan, give me a voice check.
Voice check.
We are good. We're good.
Good.
I think so.
Yeah. So the point is, please ask any questions. Join in. This is again. You'll see that both me and Brooks make mistakes, even if we sound like we don't. It's just confidence. We're used to bullshitting.
This is yes, accurate. It's just accurate.
Yeah. So even if you think like there's no stupid questions ever in philosophy, like honestly, there's no stupid questions. So you can just jump in and ask, and I'll ask you, Brooks, and you can start your video, and we'll
all right. Off we go, and hello, YouTube.
Welcome to our latest video in the series Wandering Through Books from the Shelves Behind Me as we talk...
I don't hear the stream.
You don't hear the stream. That is...
Me neither.
Video.
Fantastic. Yeah. I love Discord. All right, let's try now.
Through their methodology,
yes,
not simply their content. Our first few books really focused on...
Oh man, I fucked up the music on this one.
Logic, symbolic logic specifically, but how to build arguments, how to analyze statements. Then we made turns as we started working through how those elements of logic can actually be used. The very process of how we find meaning in things we read, watch, and hear, like a famous poem. Last week, actually, we even spent time with Nietzsche and his genealogical method. The week before that, it was Zizek's concept of event and how it transforms our understanding of time and meaning. All of these things, though, are about sort of putting forward ideas and arguments themselves. And at this point, I'm hoping you've begun to understand that it's not quite as simple as reading or contemplating. The process of thinking, of cognition itself, is actually fraught with excessive complexity. But it is just that, a process, a thing that happens not really at once, but within time, with elements that build on each other. In this last week, I put out a video on free will and determinism. I got a lot of notes from people that I should have used this philosopher or that philosopher to prove my point, quoting this work or that work, and more than a couple mentioned Spinoza. Well, consider this a response to everyone who did that, and you know who you are, because I'm never going to make videos like that for one reason. You cannot just read Spinoza's claim on freedom and how it comes through necessity and go, oh, of course, duh, yeah. Instead, actually, the moment-to-moment experience, the process of it all, requires that you go from the definition to understanding and back. Each concept, each idea he puts out builds on the last. Your framework will shift as you progress, and by the end, you've constructed a meaning that feels like it was always there. But it wasn't. This temporality, it will function uniquely, and it introduces a latency in sort of how thinking works, a way that understanding takes all...
I actually like my intro here. I don't often like my own videos. I can't stand watching myself, but this is a solid... I'm very happy with this intro. It's more building towards what is now coming out as of like my last video with Simon Doan and now Sarah's, which is my next, and then Deleuze. It's really building towards those, but it's not a bad intro. Not a bad intro, actually.
It's also nice that like it's both Serre and Simon Doan are sort of like rationalists. And here you're talking about another rationalist. So, you know, maybe rationalism is your like prime area.
I mean, it's if there is a background, it's American Protestantism, rationalism, utility, like that sort of milieu of like middle America bullshit. So yeah, it touches into sort of some structures I'm very familiar with or feel very well. But yeah, it's all right, cool.
Things as we go together.
Also, just one of my favorite things is here at the end. I noticed that when rewatching today is that you turn sort of Kantian, and you're like, well, let's put temporality into thought. I'm like, Kant sneaks in. You can't.
You can't get away from him.
You can't get away from him.
But no, I mean, that's the idea is in the how-to series was try to build how these ideas come together. Because I think that is one of the things Deleuze takes. I mean, he writes about it in Kant. But I think like the processing and the genealogy of all of these things is kind of part and parcel. I mean, I'm doing absolutely like sort of activist philosophy as far as that goes in here by redefining some things. But yeah, I'm again, the intro is good. I'm interested in your critique. We're almost there. It's just another minute or so.
Almost like dredging in a sea of conceptual construction as you go. It's not just as easy as read these lines, read this philosopher. It's systematic construction, and that's our subject today. Yeah, from here on, these videos are going to continue to get progressively deep, but that's how it goes when you're learning.
Before we start, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, and of course.
What was your thought process on like focusing on definitions in Spinoza?
Well,
because it's a choice, and it's a good choice.
Well,
like,
so it actually I wouldn't say that's what the choice was. For me, the geometric method is the thing to try to get across, and the geometric method is the geometric method. Like it's basically the way that mathematicians of the time and even still build out rules, define things, set up functions, set up functives, they do their thing, and then they construct their argument. Spinoza's doing that, but with philosophy. And so the point for me was, in order to like explain the geometric method, I could show, and I think at some point I do, and I even linked to it, like cool visualizations that show that it's like what he did is like actually kind of a wild interconnected web of networked meaning. Definitions and how he lays them out and how he sets them out is the method, but it's also his philosophy, because and that's kind of like all of these videos are like, hey, by the way, all of these people wrote as they think. Which is like Klosowski's take on Nietzsche, but sort of through everyone. It's my Sayers book. I'm doing Genesis, which is what a book. But the book is written in his method, and his method is also his philosophy. These things don't get divorced. And so for me, Spinoza, the definitions are the method because it's actually the geometric method at play. At least that's how I think of it.
Yeah. That's good. I think this is where we sort of start to disagree.
Good.
A bit, because for me, I will get to it. But another interesting point, you said like people think how they people write how they think. One of the reasons, and I think Reinhold said this when reading Kant. One of the reasons why Kant is such a bitch to read is because he wrote in German but taught in Latin. And it doesn't, and then you translate to English, it's even worse.
That's a good line.
Yeah.
It's a good line. Yeah, but it's that's kind of the thing for me. So I'm I'm very much looking forward to this. Very much looking forward to this.
As I implied, today we're diving into Spinoza's Ethics, but not simply to repeat the text or make commentary about his excommunication or name or life. There's better books that have done that by better authors. There's something crucial about Spinoza's method that most people miss. His method isn't really just a way of presenting ideas. It's actually a system for eliminating basic bitch philosophical problems by making them unthinkable, unimportant, even silly at their core. And how he does that? Well, that's the big idea. Why do so many people in philosophy simply move past what seems to be this glass ceiling of pop YouTube thought? Well, what about free will? What about determinism? How does Spinoza arrive at these crazy claims, and why is he revered? Hegel made the comment, either you're a Spinozist or you're not a philosopher. Hegel said that. Spinoza is going to say at some point that true freedom is not free will, but from acting by necessity, which isn't even determinism. And this sounds like a contradiction. And when I say it like that, it is. There's no propositions supporting it. There's no argumentation there. It's just that thing. I haven't done the work to lay this out right. I haven't done the work to bring you with me. You haven't done the work you need to understand. And that's what the ethics does. That's what Spinoza does. Maybe better.
There's some scratchiness in the audio. Everyone else getting that too?
A bit, yeah.
Than any other major philosopher of all time. He's extraordinary. He constructs this conceptual architecture that is so ridiculously complete that by the time you reach claims he has later in the book about freedom, they don't just make sense. You're like arriving there alongside him. So you know how I'm always talking about riddles and systems, the difference, how riddles will give you answers to memorize like a party trick, while systems teach you things and how they work, things you can use. Spinoza's ethics is like an ultimate anti-riddle. It does not give you conclusions to accept or reject. That's not really how it operates at all. Instead, it kind of starts over and it rebuilds the foundation of thought so thoroughly that traditional problems go away.
All right, I'm going to ask Elderan at this point. Please.
Yeah. Well,
how did Brooks know?
Brooks did good. I mean, all of you all, just so you know, Brooks is sneaking in the loose here.
A little
Brooks
bit.
is sneaking in a lot of the loose here when he's like, and especially, I mean, when he talks about the problems. Spinoza did not think in such terms.
He didn't.
And it's a way of reading, and it's not wrong by any means. But Spinoza's definitions per se, like if we're going to focus on definitions, are not there on their own to eliminate problems. They in effect do that, like eliminate force problems from a Deleuzian perspective, of course. But they don't like, and especially because they're sort of incomplete without propositions as well. They are sort of statements that like have like ellipses at the end, dot. And in such they can't eliminate basically anything except state something, and yeah. So that's a bit Deleuzian. It's not wrong, like by any means.
No, and I'm also making it's a bit of a firebrand sort of polemic against the thing I hate the most, which is pop philosophy, where people like throw out a factoid or a thing. I call them riddles because I don't think it's philosophy. And Spinoza's method is like, to me, the antidote. If there is a thing, it's almost overcorrecting the other direction, where it's like, hey, here is how you build systems completely. But yeah, it's a very Deleuze reading, of course. Wait till you get to the Sayers book stuff I'm writing. Like, Jesus.
There is Gouraud, when talking about Spinoza, has this, and this pertains to your thing about pop philosophy. He says, well, in Spinoza we have to differentiate two things. We have to differentiate savoir, which is knowledge, and we have to then from that we have to differentiate sort of the understanding, sort of like I get that, like sort of it's not really understanding, I guess. Like English doesn't have a good word for like that split. It's like it's the connaître, it's the knowledge. It's like to know something, right? Like sort of the general knowledge, like sort of like a vague, knowledge, and then like knowledge of something.
We used to have a good word for it, and then Elon Musk named his AI Grok, and now we can't use it anymore.
Is it Grok?
Gnosis the same thing, or does that have too many other?
It's got a lot of others. When you grok something, like the actual comprehending, understanding,
comprehension,
which is like I grokking it is the same way you'd say eating a meal. You grok an idea. It's like the processing part of understanding. It was a great term that we had in sci-fi. And again, only nerds used it, which still, it's a good term. But then AI, Grok, Elon Musk decided to just be a cocksucker as always.
As he is. Yeah. So the point is that for Spinoza, it's not so much about like this, especially his epistemology, not so about this grasping of a thing. It's not about repeating facts. It is knowledge in general. It is knowledge sort of like as a savoir. It's to know, to live in knowledge, and that you can't get with pop philosophy. It's same as Kantian distinction between like scholastic philosophy, school philosophy. It's like, oh, you sort of repeat what the teacher says. The teacher tells you Descartes said this, ego cogito ergo sum, and then you sort of like repeat. You know, it's what it, and then what you know. After hence after is called dogmatic thought. You know, you just repeat what you like. Deleuze also call it dogmatic. Many people call it dogmatic. And then there's the sort of the world philosophy, just like to know how to think and to like have this knowledge that it's not immediately explicable in a fact, but it's sort of an understanding, a deeper understanding. And Spinoza's philosophy is all about this deeper understanding.
It tends to be translated, and it's an important point for Spinoza for sure, because it's like I say understanding throughout this because I am being a bit more colloquial, like just in general. Again, it's a YouTube video. Also, I don't really know if any word in English covers it. They tend to talk about it when like Spinoza writers tend to talk about things. They use terms like knowledge and all of that. I wish they'd use grok. It would have been cool. But like the whole point for him is I think he talks about in Latin, his term for it is cognitio. I think in the actual text, it's cognitio, which is the cognizing, which is not really a word. And it's really, it is really an important point. Yeah, fair. It's interesting. No, sorry, yeah. My brain's just thinking about it for a second because it's, yeah.
In French, it works. In German, it also works. I don't know if there's any German speakers here, but like in French, it works because you have savoir, which is like
savoir. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the knowledge, right? It's to know. That's why I say je ne sais pas. I don't know, right? Je sais is the first person singular of savoir, and then you have the other word. The other word is called connaître, right? It's to know something, right? It has an object directly. So you would not say, je sais Brooks, right? Like, it sounds weird. At least I think. Like, same as in German, you wouldn't say, like, ich weiß Brooks, you know?
Well, and you wouldn't say Brooks is knowing Spinoza. That sounds strange. That is probably the closest to, like, actual English for it. Which is like, I'm knowing this book. It does sound terrible. It sounds terrible when I say it.
Yeah.
God.
I guess one of the best examples is like you would say that you know a skill, like that would be wissen, savoir, is like to know something, to be able to do something, right? But connaître, kennen on German, it's to know something, like to know someone. Mm-hmm. So, ich kenne Brooks, I know Brooks, you know. And so, and this distinction is crucial for Spinoza because it's a distinction between something being intelligible and something being knowable, right? Mm-hmm. And his philosophy is about intelligibility, and ultimately, like his radical move is to show that God is intelligible, which is his most radical position there. Like, you don't think about determinism or whatever. Don't think about necessity. Like, we've had that before. One of the most critical thing, like the most changed thing that Spinoza did is to say, well, God is intelligible in his eternity, directly for us, and nobody nobody before has said that, and that's his big difference between him and Descartes. It's like, that's why he's not a Cartesian per se.
This is what distinguishes, to me, real philosophical thought from the memorization of philosophical catchphrases. When someone tells you, Spinoza believed in determinism, I mean, they're giving you like a riddle to answer, a quick thing to respond to. When you trace how his definitions systematically eliminate the conceptual space where free will could even exist, You're learning how his system operates. It's not really deterministic. Most philosophy YouTubers will tell you that Spinoza concluded this thing and maybe throw in some biographical details about how he ground lenses, because it is kind of cool. Leibniz and him, two major philosophical minds. The only time that we know they talked was Leibniz asking for advice about how to grind lenses, which is...
Oh, so this is wrong. just a fact.
It's
more extensively.
It's the only Leibniz-Spinoza correspondence in the Spinoza correspondence book, though.
Yeah. Leibniz visited him. What's questionable if he had access to the ethics before Spinoza died.
Which I don't believe he did, but yeah, no, it's I probably should have been more specific here, because the correspondence, the idea was correspondence. The only letters we have are of all the things. We know they talked, and I guess we don't really know the content of the conversation meaningfully either.
But we have to assume that, like, because Leibniz is one of the most honest and better critics of Spinoza, because everybody else basically sucks. And so, if not sort of personal knowledge, he had a deep affiliation with Spinoza, at least intellectually, and that has to I don't know, like either Leibniz is a genius, which he was, but sort of is Kant, and Kant misunderstands Spinoza completely.
Kant does a lot of things.
I kind of think amazing. It's like two of the
I'll make an overlay. I'll correct this one. That's a very fair correction.
best minds of the time. I love that story. But that's trivia. We're not really here for that. Although that stuff can be fun.
Also it's irrelevant. It's trivia. That you said it right afterwards. You don't even have to do an overlay. It's so irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. I like when I do that to myself. That felt good. That was okay. That's shitting on myself.
Yeah, you're just like this is amazing. Like, you've completely erased temporality now. You like criticize yourself, then your past self has corrected you.
Fair enough. I'm playing 4D chess.
Concepts he did built on each other, how he created new possibilities of thought in itself. There isn't really a point where Spinoza argues against free will. He instead builds systems that eliminate the conceptual space where that can even exist. His method works through what I'm going to sort of steal from last week's video.
The audio is getting worse. It's not even on my side. 1 second. This is very frustrating. Is it? Oh, let's keep going.
Nietzsche, who comes
It was like when you were
later.
laughing earlier. Like your mic was
My mic.
Yeah, in Discord. I don't know. Other people are hearing that, I assume, right?
What the fuck? I'm just going to talk for a second and see if the audio is still buzzing. Is it buzzing right now, August?
Then. Yep.
Motherfucker.
It was good for
You'd think they would
a minute
discover
there.
how to
Got
make
buzzy.
audio setups not horrible with all the millions they have.
You would think.
Yes, hope you're enjoying this so far. Steak down of Brooks.
You'd think they'd make anything decent. Is that still buzzy?
Sounds
That's
good.
fine for now.
All right. The problem is I haven't had a chance. I've been having YouTube on the back end. August helped me diagnose even more. We have to wait for YouTube to fix my fucking stream, so I can't even get into YouTube Studio. It's a whole thing. My audio's fucked up. I have to reformat my computer. There's a whole bunch, but on top of it, work has not been enabling that, so apologies. Lame.
If you make a thumbnail for this, it has to be like you on the cross, being like crucified.
We're not quite there yet, but maybe we'll do one of the other stations.
Brooks falls for the first time.
Brooks falls for the first time. All right, that's what we're doing. That's the thumbnail. Brooks falls for the first time. So that way I can have at least a couple more videos that I get shit on where I go, Brooks falls for the second time. Brooks falls again.
Genetic definitions, rather than simplistic descriptions. Traditional philosophy will give you a nominal definition. Man is a rational animal. Thank you very much, Aristotle. Well, Spinoza, he provides more genetic ones. They show how the thing is necessarily produced from causes that he's going to give you as well. We're going to go through this. We're going to trace this construction step by step.
I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
Do you disagree with Deleuze that first 5 definitions are nominal?
I actually I do disagree with that.
I disagree too. That's why I like it.
I think what he's taking is nominal, and I think I understand why he's doing it. I'm trying not to psychoanalyze Deleuze, but he's coming at it from a different place. But I actually think they're formative, and I think he's saying they're nominal because he just agrees with them, and so they're not nominal. Like, I don't know how to make sense of that, but it's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his argument is that the first 5 definitions, or is it 6?
Whatever it is, it's the opening bit.
No, the first 5. Like the first 5 for him are just like naming stuff. He says like, oh, this is, I mean, and then when we got to the definition of the God, he says, well, this is a real definition for finally, and it's sort of a, like, I agree that it's not, and I agree more with you here that it's because then Deleuze has to explain why would Spinoza just name something, and then it just doesn't work for him. Like it doesn't have a truth value, and if something doesn't have a truth value in Spinoza, it's useless.
Yeah, you kind of open it up when you said, despite me saying like I'm here for the method and the definitions and the effect, he is building up like bricks of knowledge. The way he was thinking about stuff was very much like that thing, and it's yeah. So again, I don't know. To me, the definitions are doing constructive work. I don't understand how just naming things isn't still constructive work. So, yeah,
that's a confusing take.
Yeah,
I mean it's Deleuze. He's a polemic. He said dickish things about a bunch of stuff. So,
yeah. Also, especially because like his major inspiration for Spinoza argues completely differently, and spends 80 pages of a book discussing how these definitions are not nominal.
Yeah,
and then the
entire book is...
Deleuze write 80 pages of a 600-page book, by the way. And Deleuze just sort of like names them nominal. He doesn't really explain that. It's in expressionism. He just doesn't. He's just like, oh, they're nominal, and then we get to the real definition for God. And I understand why he would make the 5th definition have a special place, because it is special. It is different than other definitions, of course. I do not understand why he would call them the first 5 nominal. So this has turned into roasting Deleuze stream. Welcome.
Well, it's an odd thing because I would even say let's just take the first definition. The first definition, as he defines things, basically eliminates transcendent creation. I like, even if it's just
That's
nominal.
Where I disagree.
You disagree with that?
Yeah.
What is? Wait.
Let's get to it. Let's get to it in video. This is like a little bit of a. I disagree. It leads to it. I don't think it eliminates it per default.
Okay. Well, we'll get there. But regardless, if you're right or if I'm right or if we're both wrong and it's another thing, it's still not nominal. It's still not nominal. So.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not nominal, and that's the thing, because it's like so people who don't know what nominal, like we should not be assholes and just speak in terminology.
Naming things.
Yeah, it's just naming things, basically.
So if we say God is this dog, that's not really anything but a nominal definition. I'm calling something a thing. That's nominal. If I say God is all dogs everywhere, there's a little bit more to it. It's not quite nominal. It's a shitty example off the top of my head.
If like the difference is like this is in Spinoza. Like if you look at definitions, right, you get this like first person thing, which he doesn't do anywhere else. Like in Latin, it's intelligio. This gio means I. right? I understand. So Spinoza says, under causa sui, I understand this, right? And this is what leads people, including Deleuze, to say, well, this is just a nominal definition. He's just saying what he thinks something is, right? And it's like, or like it's either thus or like, or you get something like in the second definition where he uses a passive, right? He says dicitur, which means it is said of, right? It's a passive term. This is said of something, right? So he says, so of the finite genre of the finite things, it is said. This is right. So it's not me saying; it's generally said. It's also sort of like subjective. It's very subjective. But this for Spinoza, like it's a bit more complicated, and Deleuze just sort of like waves that like away. Like, oh yeah, it's just nominal. Doesn't work. Then like the whole ethics sort of falls apart. If first four definitions are just nominal, right? And that's sort of what Deleuze does, right? Because he then makes them completely hypothetical as well later in the book. He says, oh, these definitions are completely hypothetical. And they only work in relation to the rest of ethics. On the other hand, he will say that the first eight propositions are not hypothetical. Generally, people think because he's like, what if there is multiple substances? And be like, we all know he's going to reach the one substance. Every child knows by now that Spinoza is a monist, right? So it's generally assumed, well, he's just hypotheticalizing it, right? But Deleuze is going to argue different. He's going to say that it's not hypothetical, it's actually real. Everything he says, he actually thinks, right? And this is like sort of where Deleuze was a bit too quick. He had different problems he was trying to solve in his book. His book is amazing, but this is a mistake.
By line, following his method as it unfolds. And really, we're only going to do the beginning of part one. The definitions as he's using them, these aren't just preliminary clarifications. It's not how he's setting up. These are conceptual weapons. So be watching as we go.
This is true.
But of note, a big note and a huge caveat. The Ethics is not a normal philosophy book. I hinted at it and others will tell you. It's a big deal. He calls it his geometric method, modeled after Euclidean systems of geometry, which have in them the same kind of stuff. He's going to start with definitions, and these establish the meanings of terms. And then from there, he's going to have axioms that become self-evident sort of truths. He's then going to bring out propositions, which he demonstrates through those previous definitions. These have consequences, he calls corollaries, and scholia are the clarifications of those consequences. Get it? It's okay, you won't. I mean, there's an extraordinary number of people who are out there trying to just literally graph how dense the ethics is. Here's a great website visualization that I love, and it's clearly complex. I'll link to it in the description. But to simplify,
I love those websites.
Euclidean geometry, the geometry we all learn in junior high or elementary school. How many degrees are there in the angles of a triangle? There's 180. We know that.
I think you already know that this is not Euclidean geometry. Like this is.
I'm simplifying so much.
Yeah. This is already Cartesian stuff.
Yeah.
But so I don't have to. I'll just skip that. We don't mention that.
It's not a math channel. It's
No,
not a math channel.
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh God. Oh God.
Once you start with Serre and then you go to other thinkers, it's going to become a math channel very quickly.
I know.
It's 360. An octagon has 1080. In fact, we know it's easy. We just take the number of sides, subtract 2, multiply that by 180. Why do we do that? Well, Euclidean geometry operates on axiomatics and rules in an extraordinary way, and Euclid created these elements to give us foundational relationships within his system. From his setup, we have the parallel postulate, which shows it. Ah, damn it. This is not me. I'm not this guy. There are way better math channels, way better geometry channels. I'll link to here or in the description if
I didn't pre-watch this. I am now officially doing the 4D thing constantly. I need to stop talking.
I can figure it out. They're going to explain
This is me in the past reminding me now that I'm also not oh, fuck Christ.
these things better. But the method they're using, the method I was just hinting at, that's what Spinoza is trying to build here. Logic, as I talked about in the beginning of this series, that's this, but it's not him putting forward arguments. He's building the entire logical system from scratch. He wants to redefine the very nature of how we understand that things work. So, fuck it, let's dive on in. So for this, we're going to go through the six first definitions, not exhaustive at all of this book. The first definition.
There's a reason I chose the first 6, by the way.
Spinoza opens with a doozy.
By cause of itself, I understand that
Whose essence involves existence, or that whose nature cannot be conceived except as existing. Whew. Yeah, his language is complex, but it's actually not wild to break it down. He wrote this in Latin. I appreciate this very good translation. It's important to get a good translation. Thank you, Curly. But there's really only 2 things he's
Amazing
saying
translation.
here, but they're
very good translation, thank God, because I'm not going to learn another language. It's been enough already.
kind of big. Up front, he wants to talk of the idea that something can be the cause of itself. Now, he's going to be talking about God, but he's more just talking about the idea of anything where, how to put it, most things that we deal with or consider, they don't have existence as a necessity. It's not part of the essence of a unicorn, right? But there are categories of beings that Spinoza is going to be dealing with that we have to deal with. God, being, the absolute, existence, everything. These things at the center of philosophy or science, they've baked themselves into existence itself, or existence is baked into it. Either way, classical philosophy has always treated these things that are causes of itself as a problematic special case for like thousands of years. These things are stuff that needs to be explained in terms of an efficient causation, and they're considered these ticklish elements that we need to step away from. Spinoza, though, he reverses.
This is where I have a bit of a problem.
Okay.
Because
that's okay, because it is, I will say up front, it is a slightly confused wording of it now that I'm re-listening to it. So
yeah, because like it's not a problem. My question is, what do you mean by special case, like in philosophy? Because causa sui is one of the most major terms of philosophy, at least the whole scholastic philosophy, and Aristotelianism as well.
See,
causa sui prima, the first free cause.
I would say this is true for people who are. Let's talk about inside and outside the walls of philosophy. People who are inside the walls, yeah, it's absolutely everywhere. People who are watching YouTube videos to try to understand something, causa sui is maybe not even a term they've heard, and the sort of need this is particularly written for that audience because again, it's what it is. It's not written for 4th year, 5th year students. Who are spending lots of time reading all of these things. It's like, hey, this is places to start, methods to read through. Here's Spinoza. And so, special case, I mean, it's a term I've seen in a lot of not just Spinoza scholarship, but Deleuze scholarship when it comes to, self-caused, when it comes to causa sui in general, because we tend to spend a lot of time in, colloquial circles discussing everything but it's a fair point. I do overemphasize.
Yeah, good. I mean that explains it. It is especially if I like am on a popular philosophy side, you'll never hear these metaphysics. And why? Because scholastic metaphysics is not sexy. It's not Derrida, it's not Deleuze, it's not Badiou, it's not whoever, right? It's not Spinoza, bastardized Spinoza even. So like nobody's going to go and read Thomas Aquinas and his theology.
Well, and I'd also say most people, because they don't extend past, I don't know, the Greeks even. like classical philosophy. I'm putting that in quotes. That is not an academic term I'm using, but like, like things cause things. A causes B. That tends to be how people talk about stuff. So if we say that A causes A, it breaks them. It's just an exception to the rule.
Yeah. It's especially because like when you look at what is considered popular philosophy from like ancient times, like it's like Marcus Aurelius, or like some Stoics, right? Maybe a bit of Aristotle, like Nicomachean Ethics, maybe, but like it's barely anything. Like and people read like the Republic. That's about it. Nobody's gonna there is not much good or honest, like in like French philosophy situation on the internet is dire. It's bad. Ancient philosophies, like the situation on the internet is completely dead. It's like worse than French.
It's the worst thing that there is. Just go watch a fucking Stoicism channel and just die.
Yeah. Oh, we did that once here together.
We did.
It was awful.
We did.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
So
But let me ask another question, because since I have you here, I could also say, and I would ask, in the ethics, God is a bit of a special case, though. Like there is a sort of quarantining of what God or the substance, the all one, whatever you want to call it, like everything else kind of plays with the causation system that we would know, but causa sui, he's really pulling out for this sort of self-caused thing to sort of shift how people are talking about God. Is that an oversimplification or?
Yeah, no. It's completely right. And the thing is, he's going to make causa sui a characteristic of God, right? A characteristic of substance and God. One of the major characteristics, along with like the power of expression or whatever else is. And necessity as well is a characteristic of God, because God exists by necessity. And he's gonna basically bracket that causa sui to God. He's gonna talk about other things as causa sui, right? Sort of similarly. For example, he talks about being active. It's being understood through itself, just sort of a way. It is a minor causa sui, right? And that's all of his ethics. But yeah, he brackets it off to God in a very major way, which like is Deleuze's critique at the end of the day of Spinoza. It's this special place that substance has, and then he wants to get away from, and then he makes a special place for the virtual in the difference and repetition, and makes the same mistake.
And he does it again for the unconscious and chaosmosis and. Again,
yeah, but he corrects it with the plane of immanence later. Like he becomes a better Spinozian.
Yes.
So
go for it.
But like in the history of philosophy, causa sui was a important term. Like this is how scholastics explained free will. Like if you have the four causes, right? The formal, material, you have the efficient cause, and what's the last one? I'm forgetting it.
Don't ask me. I'm not an academic.
Yeah, whatever. That's not important. And then when having to explain free will, even Aristotle as well, they went to causa sui, and they said like, well, whatever can consider to be free will is that which is understood through itself, which causes itself, right? Well, free will, and then they assigned this to humans and angels and God. Spinoza's specialty is going to be this bracketing off. He's going to be like, well, humans know, God, yes. And then he's going to be like, well, and there's going to be another bracketing when he says, well, but causa sui is not freedom nor will, at least not taken together, right? It is both freedom and will, but separately. There is no such thing as free will.
Keep playing.
Right up front. For him, causa sui, which is the Latin term for self-cause, becomes the archetype of causation, the original, most perfect form of causal relationships. All other causation is derivative. Now, do you see what's happening here? His definition, this thing, is the first peg in what will be a conceptual matrix, the same way that if I were to say that a line has 180 degrees on it, and therefore octagons have 1,080 degrees inside of it, one follows from the other necessarily. So if you accept this one, you've already eliminated the possibility of a transcendent creator God who chooses whether or not to create. It's the old theological question, the Reddit atheist thing. If God's so powerful,
this is what I.
Yep,
this
yep.
is
Do
where
it. Do
I
it.
start- because like I understand what you mean, right? And it's correct in the grand scheme of things. It's correct, right? You understand
Right.
Spinoza. That's clear, right? But you say for this definition, like if you accept this, you have also eliminated the transcendent God. But scholastics have accepted this definition. It would have no problem with this definition, but also have a transcendent God, right?
Well, they're wrong. Well, they're wrong then.
Well, not per se, right? And this is so I'm gonna do like a proper Kantian critique of you, is that I think what you do is, because it's a 35-minute video and you can't spend 10 hours talking about this, because of your material constraints, what you do here to explain it quickly is you do what's a bit easier, is to sneak in a bit of Descartes into Spinoza.
Oh, don't insult me like that. I did not. That's not what I'm doing.
It is a bit. It is a bit because at the end, it ends up sounding a bit analytical, right? Especially the way you say this, like if you accept this.
Oh no,
and then the way you,
I won't disagree with that. The Descartes thing is the part I'm upset about. It's I mean, I make the statement that if you accept that a line has 180 degrees in it, then when you show someone an octagon, you've already said how many degrees necessarily are in all the angles, because one follows from the others by necessity. And so you don't have to go, hey, here is how an angle works. Here is how an octagon has this many sides. It's like by having that first rule, by saying the second thing, you've actually created the effect of the third thing, which is that. So for me, it's if we've got this idea of God as self-caused and God's essence involves existence, then we've got this odd thing where God's nature includes creating. Creating is conceivable, but not happening. It's not choice. It's conceivable as not happening, not choice, right? So transcendent creation requires creating to be conceivable as not happening. There's an odd, contradiction inside of it that I'm playing with it, but it is saying that the system that's being built here is the first seed of the crystallization of the rest of the thing, that as Spinoza adds another thing to it, we've already found ourselves sort of defeating it. To say another way, if Spinoza's second definition of the ethics was that God has the ability to make choices and has free will and also created everything, that contradicts this first one almost entirely. But
it doesn't, because it still can be causa sui, and that's the thing, right? And but that's not even the thing I'm talking about. What I think you did, and it's a nuanced thing, and you have to really, it's a bitch, but generally Spinoza, and I think you did, especially the way you explained it, with the triangle, right? Well, that's an analytical statement, right? Yeah. It's when you say a triangle, there is three lines at 180 degrees, right? Equals a triangle, right? This is Cartesian, hands down, completely, right? And it's called analytical, right? Because the term is already implied in the predicates, right? Triangle basically means 3 lines and 180 degrees, sorry. So it is there is a necessity there, and you're completely right. Both of them, this is we have to deal with necessity extremely, right? But what is important for Spinoza, it's not the analytical part. This is his definition of the cause is analytical, of course. But what is important for him is a synthetic. It's a synthesis. It's the grouping of together, right? So by saying, and then by having to by not being able to go to propositions, right? By not being able to have hours and hours to go through definitions and then propositions like we do on the server, you have already made definitions analytical instead of synthetic, because they have to synthesize to something later. But for you
interesting.
Here,
no, I'm getting your point. So to say I'm doing the Cartesian thing of apply formula, answer, get shit out. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's
more
analytical.
or less, and that's analytical. And man, I hope I didn't. Yeah, no, okay, because so as I'm trying to state it, and maybe this is a wording thing. This is interesting. It's interesting. Sorry, my brain is. This is a very good critique. I like it. Because what I'm trying to more or less argue that he's doing is he's building conceptual architecture where certain things become impossible to think. So it's less the analytic of apply formula, derive answer. It is, here are the postulates, and from that, this ontology is produced.
Yeah.
He's doing that, but I don't know if you're able to do that in a quick video like this.
That's
But
exactly.
that's what I'm trying to do, and it's it's fair.
It's a bitch. That's why I say it's a bitch. It's not an easy thing. You took yourself a momentum task, and that's what I want to tell people. This video is.
It's pedagogical scaffolding specifically for a YouTube audience. That's what it is. Yeah. But the critique is absolutely valid. Just that's it. I don't have a response to it. It's just true.
So people listening here, video as such, his introduction to Spinoza is amazing. It's one of the best videos on YouTube, right? Hands down. That's why we're working with it here, right? We are being very nerdy here. This is very nerdy. I can't explain to you how this. We're talking about
if I may, it would be like how we're discussing the shape and color of the gems that make lightsabers the colors that they are and where they're found. That kind of nerdy.
Yeah. At certain point, this shit starts mattering, right? What that we're talking about. But for the audience that Brooks is making this video for, it matters absolutely none. It's just not a thing that to worry about, right? So if you're worried oh, have I watched this video and am I wrong now? No, you're not wrong. If you follow Brooks, you're going to be right? We're just being nerdy.
This is interesting because you actually are hitting one of the challenges of these systems of thought to get across is that traditionally the analytic Cartesian system of deductive proofing of whatever, which is not how any of this is meant to work. How do you make a genetic construction that doesn't also allow for that to be the interpretation in a shorter video? That's actually a very interesting question to ask.
It is a monstrous task. I would not like to be in your shoes. That's why we spend how many hours so far? Months doing ethics, and only now. And I'm we can talk about the geometric method, the generic geometric method, right? Only now, 2/3 to the book 2 are we ready? Not even completely ready a bit to start discussing this, right? For me, it's 5 years of studying, right? For you, years as well, right? So to and then how do you talk this down? And it's important this didactic approach to introduce people to philosophy as philosophy. But it's a problem that has to be you have to keep working on it. It's a constant challenge.
Yeah, it's an issue in the classroom as well. A lot of, in classes now, I'm in classes where it's they'll just explain something and it's lecture notes. You're taking it from authority. You're not necessarily able to work through things on yourself. That's why you have readings and stuff that you're supposed to be bringing to classroom, but that's more and more disappearing as we go towards more and more of a sort of a regurgitation model, right?
Well, and for me, for me, the goal for me, because I wrestled with this for a while, and I think I'm closer than I was, earlier videos, which I think I didn't do as much, or earlier works, but for me, it's actually showing it. It's more performative than teaching, where it's And I
Yes.
think overall, the way that the videos have come across, it's why I chose this silly, stupid name of How to Philosophy, which is on its face incorrect. Like it's just wrong, but it's playing with what people expect from the videos and then performatively showing the thing that I'm trying to get across as I'm getting across, which makes it genetic as it sort of goes, rather than deductive, even though I do clearly make deductive claims, which is fucked up. And now I'm starting to think about it. It's fascinating.
That's why we're here. This is like it seems like this, and this is why critique is good. It's like, especially if it's like not mean spirited, which YouTube generally just has mean spirited critique. It necessitates one into improving oneself. Like you have to, like, constantly, like the work is never done, especially in philosophy.
Well, and again, as we go through the video, and we're breaking it up, which makes it not function the way that I originally wrote it clearly, but like the whole point is like the octagon bit or the line is actually orientation. It's not stating a truth claim. It's discussing an orientation and a view and using that. The demonstration of the 6 definitions are performed. Like I go and I really went out of my way to try to do this. It's gonna be interesting if it carries through as we pause it. I'm fascinated by this. This will be fun. All right, shall we continue?
No, I have one more. So
I'm
God. So since we're talking about like analytic and synthetic, and like I think you wanted to simplify it and go away from the typical Spinozian example of like a generic definition, right? It's the circle. And I understand why you wanted to do that. But then you went, like, I think because it's so difficult to find generic definitions. They're like impossible to think of one's own. Like and it's so easy to think, because we are by culture Cartesians, all of us, right? We think like the idea that you can mathematize nature, that's Descartes. That it didn't exist before Descartes.
Mm-hmm.
Like modern physics, still extremely Cartesian. Like
yes.
Everything, like the way
the measurement is nature somehow. Measurement is nature somehow. I don't know how we got there, but we got there.
But this analogy that like mathematics is analogous to nature, it's Cartesian, right? We believe that. When we believe in money, we believe in that. When the idea of us as like centered selves, extremely Cartesian, right? So we are per default Cartesian, and it's a Sisyphean task to constantly have to fight Descartes within ourselves, right? That's why Spinoza is so difficult. Like it appears simple at the beginning, right? But it's actually extremely difficult to fight. Like analytical philosophy, why it sucks? Because it's in its heart, like not all of it, but in its heart, it's very Cartesian. Like the presumption, the analytical presumptions. That's why it's called analytical philosophy, right? It's in connection to Descartes.
Well, and it's tough because this is so that to take the circle idea, the two ways of it to just explain that as a moment. I can say here is a circle, it is this, or I can say, hey, here's how a circle is made with I take a string and a pencil and I go whoop, or a compass or whatever the fuck. These two ways of talking about what a circle is actually fundamentally change not just our relation to it, but our relation to kind of everything. And this is kind of it's why everyone uses the sort of distinction between traditional Cartesian thought versus Spinozist space that we're clearly more familiar with, and all of us here at the QC are probably a little bit more interested in. But so this is, again, the attempt was to make that second thing, here's how a circle is made, by doing it in video format, not in terms of like having a definition, but here's step 1, here's step 2, here's how these things ply onto each other, and then getting through step 6. The point for me was showing the methodology that he uses, in my mind, again, as I've read the ethics, that he's using the entire book of, you do this one, oh fuck, this has implications on this and this and this. You do the next one, oh, this has implications on this and this and this. And none of them are themselves like a tautological truth, but instead that they build on each other, and that it's like this is the methodology that I am enacting through the video. it's intended to be the actual thing, at least an attempt at it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah. So and especially like with the distinction analytic synthetic, it's a bitch because as you said, like you can define a circle genetically, right? You can say a circle is one dot, like it's a line where that's how Spinoza defines it, is a line where one of its points is fixed and the other one is movable, right? And then that's how you create a circle. It's like you have a little line, as you showed it, right? You one is fixed, and the other one is movable. It doesn't matter how big a line is. It's going to just make different circles. And it by necessity creates a circle, right? But you describe the way it's created, the way it comes into being. On the other hand, you have the Cartesian formula, right? Which is what x squared plus y squared equals r squared, right? It's the formula for the circle, right? Mm-hmm. And it also functions by the same necessity, right? Like type in any number in those, you're going to get a circle. That thingy gets you a circle by necessity, right? And the other word to translate is that circle is an infinity of points equally at equal distance from a common center, right? That's what we learn in school, for example, right? From a single common center, right? Otherwise, you get an ellipse. So that is also by necessity, right? You also get like by necessity you get a circle as soon as you put an infinity amount of points around a single at the equal distance around a single center. But one of them shows you like an effect, an end of things, right? Sort of like the end, which is what you get, infinity of points around a center. Spinoza shows you how things comes to be, right? And that's why it's difficult to come up with another generic definitions because there aren't any, right? Like that's why he uses the circle. Like if you ask him for another one, he's gonna be like, read my book, right? So and this is the major critique. Like the only critique Spinoza had of Descartes. And he says, like, of course, it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, right? But he says, the only critique, I'm completely Cartesian. He's not. But he says, I'm completely Cartesian. The only thing is that Descartes did not understand his causes, right? He did not understand causes. And what he means by this is that Descartes thought that he can understand the circle by just describing the way it is,
yes,
right? Analytically, right? And then positing laws from it, right? Like tautologies, basically, analytic tautologies, or analogies from it. Spinoza says, no, we have to understand how things come to be, right? And that's a synthetic method, right? So, and this is their, like, it sounds like a small difference, but if you start from
it's fucking massive.
The philosophies completely diverge. Like, you have a cogito in Descartes, you don't have a cogito in Spinoza. Very famously, you don't have a cogito in Spinoza, right? This cogito is completely irrelevant, right? As a concept that grounds science, right? What is relevant is God. It's a complete reversal. For Descartes, God is inaccessible, right? For Spinoza, God is the most accessible thing, right? Like it's like Descartes, but like from a mirrored dimension, where everything is the opposite. Just from this like starting point.
Shall we continue?
Yeah.
Who made God? The only God that can exist in here is one whose existence follows necessarily from its essence, which means that following from God's nature must also follow necessity. We're not even one definition in. We're even barely starting. And Spinoza's basically completely fucked with the idea of choice, free will, it's completely shifted the conversation. This is the first line of the book.
I do stand by that. I think it's a very good first line, and it is not nominal.
No. But it's also not analytic. And that's
no, it's not analytic deductive. I agree, but it's in itself. Yeah, I agree.
Like
I agree.
It's like a first domino that leads you to the Spinozian thing, right? And that's what you want to describe in 30 minutes. Like you want to show that from this you reach
this,
the
and
immanent
then
God,
this,
right?
and then this,
Univocal,
and then this.
yeah. But the only thing is that you can't really show in a 35-minute video, however long it is, you can't really show the synthetic method, like the generic synthetic method, because it would require you to repeat his argument. You would have to read the ethics and repeat and show how things are constructed, and you can't do that. And that's why we're here. We're talking about it more generally now, but we're also we've talked about it twice over the length of the video.
Yep.
For the first. Right.
And we haven't even actually touched it. Because there's the other side, which is mostly my argument is actually what you get if you go back and read it. Like it's on its own, I will say up front, on its own, it does not do what I'm saying. But once you've read the ethics and you go back and you read it, you're like, oh fuck. But it only does that again retroactively, and again, it's not deductive. It's a whole thing. It's literally that whole thing.
Yeah.
Circular causality, man.
Fucking dude, it's so much easier to be Cartesian. Let's just switch. Can we do that? Can we
I think we're already down the rabbit hole. Like we're like Alice. Sorry.
Definition 2. That thing is said to be finite in its own kind that can be limited by another of the same nature. Yeah, I know. It's translated from Latin. What do you expect? It's also really as dense as the last, despite just being a sentence. And you kind of want to blow through it, because it seems basic, but there's nothing basic here. Spinoza adds right alongside it, for example, a body is called finite because we always conceive another that is greater. Thus, a thought is limited by another thought, but a body is not limited by thought, nor a thought by a body. See, this does shit. This establishes a limitation, and that limitations always come from outside. It's never from within. A finite thing isn't finite because it lacks something into itself. It's finite because something else of the same nature bounds or limits.
You're spitting
it.
here. This is all correct.
It's counterintuitive for a lot of us. We tend to think of finite things as missing the property of infinity. That's one of the great challenges of things that Christianity and religion left over for us, ultimately, but there's no reason for that. Limits aren't intrinsic to things. They're definitionally relational. Finitude is always a relationship between things, right? Except for the infinite. See, that's the stuff that doesn't really have limits, because there aren't really things that can limit it. There's nothing else of the same nature. So we're 2 lines in. You see the system starting? So we've laid...
I goddamn, I love the ethics. It's such a fucking book. What a book.
Out in this 2 lines, very specific stuff. First, stuff that is presumed by existence, also stuff that doesn't have any limitations, is nothing of its kind. Something that is infinite and has a self-cause. Jesus, it's 2 sentences. Let's move to 3. The third definition. By substance, I understand what is in itself and is conceived through itself. That is, that whose concept does not require the concept of another thing from which it must be formed. The substance. The substance is what is in itself. This doesn't mean existing independently. It means existing as the fundamental level of reality on which everything else is dependent. Substance isn't just self-sufficient. It's that which makes the existence of everything else possible, while depending on nothing else for its own existence. It's conceived through itself.
Yeah?
Sorry?
Yeah?
I mean, again, you're rushing a bit to conclude here, right? And again, we understand why. You have to explain proposition 14 by not mentioning proposition 14, right?
Yes.
Yeah, or like...
Or like literally so fucking much more of just ethics 1, let alone... Yeah. So, but like, about for us here nerds, right? It's important to know why Spinoza still does not speak about the terms
as in like real. He talks about like what an intellect understands, like what a mind understands, or understanding is another way to translate the word, right? He says,
since God is an absolutely infinite being of whom no attribute which expresses an essence of substance can be denied, by definition 6, he necessarily exists, proposition 11. If there were any substance except God, it would have to be explained through some attribute of God. So, two substances of the same attribute would exist, which by proposition 5 is absurd.
yeah.
But here's the thing. The fascinating part of his work, and the reason the geometric method, and again, I'm going to keep coming back to it because I think the geometric method is fascinating because he is laying out definitions and, well, he is putting in propositions, but the definitions are the thing that he is using to build and sort of have the rest come out of. So, well, I'm bringing in and I'm trying to short circuit through proposition 14. Yes. And the demonstration of proposition 14. I do think these things follow at least in and of their own systemic sort of nature.
Yes. But on the other hand, it also overemphasizes definitions. And propositions are way more important in Spinoza than definitions are. Definitions are sort of like the starting point. And if you don't have them memorized, basically, that's why you and I can like speak, like you and I can say, 6 definition, and we know what we're talking about, right? We know them by heart. If you don't have it memorized, you can't get the rest of the book. But the work, the geometric method, is happening in the propositions.
True.
Not the definitions. And the difficulty you are having here is having to show the building blocks and the geometric method at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like impossible because, like, for example, right, if you take in earnest, like finally a good reading, like someone like Deleuze or someone like Guiraud, right, of like the start of the proposition, like first 15 propositions, right? We have to also assume that like they are building towards something, right? They have not reached the univocal substance. We have only created the univocal substance by proposition 14, right? Or 13, I forgot which one this is now, right? Like Spinoza has created the idea as he was working from the definitions on, right? That's the geometric method. Same as you create a circle by like a line and 2 points, one fixed, one not. But wait, where was I going with that?
Well, so let me because I'm not going to disagree, but I have an edge I want to discuss specifically because it's like, again, up front, I'm not going to disagree. I lean too heavily on definitions, and I'm seeing now that it's making it seem like I'm sort of stating that definitions are doing all the work. They're not. That's not this book. That's not at all this book, at all in any capacity, which is it's fair. But I would also argue, though, that how Spinoza writes about this and how like scholars on it write about it is that the propositions are, with their demonstrations, show what follows by necessity of the definitions. So, well, I am collapsing steps, absolutely, and I'm sort of crushing everything together. The point for me with this is showing the direction that the definitions point, or the things that in my mind come by necessity of the definitions and the structure that they sort of build themselves before getting to anything that's more formal. So it's tough because the definitions in some capacity are doing some level of eliminative work. It isn't just simple labeling. Like, if they are just labeling, then Deleuze is right that it's a nominative thing. I don't see it as that. Like, we haven't gotten to it fully, but like definition 3, like that we're going through now, it doesn't just name substance. Like, I'm looking at the transcript. As I talk about it, it's establishing that only
one substance can exist conceptually because everything else violates the conceived through itself from the first definition. So the proposition proves it, but the definition gives the constraints that the proposition sort of gains by necessity almost.
But that definition functioning with other definitions and axioms he puts on. Right? On its own, if you look for this definition on its own, just like as we right now, right? Like per substantiam intelligio id, under substance I understand, quod in se est per se concepitur, that which is in self and is conceived through itself.
Yes.
Right. That's Aristotelian. That hasn't changed much, right? It's like the only thing is that Aristotle used analogy to understand substances, right? Because things exist differently, right? But he was like, well, at the bottom line, there is something that carries all the predicates for each existing thing, something unchangeable that carries all the changeable predicates. That's a substance. So it would be Cartesian, like. When it stops being Cartesian, when it's put into works with other things, right? This is the genius of Spinoza. He takes the history of philosophy, and because there is a shift in methodology, which is very rational way of thinking, there's a shift in the way in which he utilizes concepts and creates concepts. He is shifting the whole philosophy, at least in my opinion.
No, I can agree. So it's like the way I read it is that the definitions are they're more or less creating what is conceivable. It's not really demonstrating anything. Obviously, we're not at the demonstrations or the propositions, but the definitions make things unthinkable. That's how he's writing. That's how I've taken it, that by defining X, Y, and Z these certain ways, he's actually creating conceptual space to then do the rest of the work within. And so by playing with what becomes conceivable, I am jumping ahead. I'm agreeing. I collapse everything into the definitions by saying that, like, oh, the definitions fix these problems. I even say it a few times here, which is an overstatement, because they are the groundwork. The propositions are actually the things that do it, and the demonstrations of it, I think, are the nail in the coffin for all these different ideas. So it's for sure an overstatement. Sorry, that's my ramble. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was also going somewhere.
Oh, sorry.
Wait, no. I mean, I agree with you. Honestly, yeah, and that's the thing. But another problem which what you have is that you haven't explained it, and then I saw you explain it in the comments, and I was like, that's a bit sus. Is that when there was this asshole who was asking you, like, have you not read the critique? Have you not read the critique? I don't know if you know the comment. And he's like, you're doing completely speculative work. Have you not read the critique? Like, here's some asshole in the comments.
This is crucial. One sec. Let me find him. You critique?
So critique. Just type in critique.
This hasn't shown up yet. One sec. I might have to load all of them. Have you not read the critique?
I think it's one of the last comments. I don't know how they show up for you.
I don't know either.
Oh, no, I think I go down. Go down.
No, this is
they're in the same order as mine.
Oh, I've got fucking sort by newest. Fucking YouTube sucks now so bad. There it is. Have you? Turns out, it's the Kant.
He's an asshole, right? He's an asshole.
Definitions refer to real essences, in my opinion. I'm not a Kantian, though. I'm post-Kantian. Internal coherence theory is great for computer logic gates, but you can't verify about the world. Absolutely nothing. Just like Cartesian dualism will never be proven. Also internally coherent. Again, have you critiqued pure reason yet?
What a fucking jackass.
No, he's a post-Kant, Ian. That's what he is.
He's a post-Kantian. But the problem with that jackass is, though, that he's sort of right.
Have you critiqued pure reason yet? Is going to be my.
That is fucking. That's our new tagline. Have you critiqued pure reason, please?
That comment made me laugh. The thing is, because I think you explained to him, like, Because the problem is, at the end of the day, and for my question for you is like, what makes definitions necessary? Like, why these definitions than other than any other, right? In Spinoza, because we have to explain that. If we go by necessity, we have to explain why we chose these definitions. Otherwise, Spinoza becomes what Kant's misreading is, completely speculative, where you can just make anything up. Because like Kant agrees, Spinoza's and Descartes and Leibniz's all work is inherently coherent. Everything works with each other. All of them work. All of them work also independently of each other, right? All of it works. And internal machinations function. You can start, we have a start, but the problem for the Kant is that the start is arbitrary, right? You can just define something and then have this like a logic game, right? And this is what the guy is critiquing you for. And I know you don't think that, right? I know you don't think that of Spinoza. But if we are simply having definitions, like the way you emphasize definitions, if we are having them as these things that simply limit problems, right? That eliminate problems, certain problems, I guess. Not all of them. Important problems stay. Like what stops them from being arbitrary, right? What stops them from being simply like a logic game, which Spinoza doesn't want to do. For Spinoza, they have to function by necessity. For the whole system to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they have to have a truth function. And you agree to that, right? That's why we're not talking them nominally, right? But, like, what gives them this truth function, right? Like, they have to describe something. How do we know that what they're describing is true? Is ultimately the problem for the definitions of Spinoza. Right? And this is where many people make mistakes. For example, that's why Leibniz is one of the greatest critics of Spinoza, not because he was like, all your definitions are just your assumptions, which everybody else did. Right? Everybody else did that. And they were completely wrong. But Kant did that, everybody else did that. What Leibniz says, you argue your definitions, fine, but you've not argued your axioms.
Right.
I am arguing my axioms, right? And Spinoza indeed has assumed his axioms to be internal truths and has not argued them. And that's extremely correct. So the question is like, and this is where geometric method comes in. In my reading, I keep talking about how definitions are retroactively justified, right?
Correct.
And this is me being wrong. Because I kept using that word justified, and that's too Kantian. That's just, I'm thinking in Kant, like as though we are working in justifications, right? This is judgment, the philosophy of judgment, which is Kantian philosophy, and Spinoza would never think of something like that. But what Spinoza does is that definitions per se are sort of assumptions, right? They have to be true, but are assumed to be a priori true. Right, and then he sets them into motion synthetically, right? And this is what Deleuze describes clearly. He has to reach the notion of infinite understanding of God as quickly as possible so that his system functions. And he has to ground this in his epistemology so that there is no analogy between thinking and being. Thinking is being. The ideas that we think are the things themselves. And in that way, he stops his system from being speculative.
You might say
becomes real.
You might say that they become adequate to the intensive relations that they're describing, the definitions.
Yeah, that's Deleuzian terminology.
You're literally saying the thing. Like it sounds like that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like it, because it's.
But it's also not just Deleuze. Like
of course it's not just Deleuze. Of course it's not just.
Also, Deleuze did not think of that idea. Like that comes from
no.
Like,
but he did write it that way, and he wrote it really well.
Yeah.
I just really like the phrasing around it. But it's just sound like that's what you're saying, is that it's not. Truth is about adequacy to expression for Deleuze. That's like, and again, it's not just him. People before him who said it way better, but he just, I think, put it concisely very nicely, because the definitions themselves have generative power capability. They are an expression. Definition one is not an external fact. That's not really what it's doing, even though I kind of do talk about it like that. That's fair. But it's actually, what it's doing is it's expressing the operation of self-causation, and it is adequate to what it is describing. And so,
that's
the thing. That's the way the definition works. It's not, again, Kantian, like the Kant in the Kant comments, the Kant comments, is making the point. The whole point is that it is adequate to what it's doing and the movement it's describing.
Exactly, and this is where you get immanence and Deleuzian like focus on univocity, which is not. It is not a. How to say? It's not a ubiquitous understanding of Spinoza. Right?
No, and it's the trouble with my script is 100%. I don't even talk about that. Effectively, for me, the implicit thing in my script is that they eliminate falsities. Like, I do talk about it that way. It's not really the intention, but it does come across that way. That it's about building a system that is self-coherent. But then that is sort of circular justification. So, yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that's missing is that you have to explain why, like, there has to be something else other than self-coherence. And you know that there is something, as you talk about expression, that's for Deleuze, right? Mm-hmm. Like how ideas express the things, like they're expressive in themselves, right? For other Spinozian readings, it's about this generative function of the ideas, which is another term for expression, basically. Deleuze has a specific framing. It's a really good framing. That's why his book is one of the like better books about Spinoza. But for example, Deleuze will still call definitions hypothetical and say, well, only because like we have to assume them, right? But it's not about assuming them. They have to be true from the start. And we have to know that they're true. And the way that we know that they're true for Spinoza is that we sort of try to provide as quickly as possible true definition. That's why he's that's why it's easy to confuse them with analytical statements, because they sound analytical, right? They sound tautological. But they have to be the closest to truth as possible. Then by building from adequate ideas, they have to be adequate from the start. They can't be adequate later. By building from the adequate ideas, we get other adequate ideas, right? And Spinoza says you can never get an adequate idea from a non-adequate idea. That's his thinking. There's a big separation between false knowledge and true knowledge. Like a gap that's unbridgeable for Spinoza, completely, right? So these definitions have to, from the start, be true, adequate, and the way that we know that the thing is true, like what is the sign for a true and adequate definition, is that they are clear and distinct, right? It's sort of like a little thing that helps us smell out true stuff, right?
To just say, and this is why I think it's really interesting, because if we're going to, mathematical functions work like this. Like, math isn't true because it matches something outside of itself. Like, 1 + 1 is 2 because it is there. That's not what you do. It's not about correspondence or denotation. It is actually expressing actual relations and operations within itself. And so it's actually a mathematical way. That's what makes it so interesting to me when we actually get into this, because the way that mathematics or theoretical physics or any of that stuff, because it plays in a space that is almost entirely abstract, how those things, we state them as true, is very similar to what we're talking about here, because it's, again, not true if it matches external fact, not denotation. Brooks is talking right now. That's true if Brooks is talking. This is about the expressive power of the thing, how it actually operates, how it produces. And definition 1 handles that truth well itself. This is just really interesting, fertile ground.
Yeah, but Spinoza has to add another thing to that, because the Cartesian system functions in self-coherence, right? Same as math. Math is Cartesian. Like, we live in Cartesian, except for like Cantor and later people. But like the math you're most, like algebra, and like the math your average person knows is very Cartesian, the way we understand it today, right? It's complete, yes, your trigonometry,
self-reliant and all of that, yes.
Yeah, right, and it only works to like Like people don't even say that it's like the nature. Like it works, it analogizes nature. It puts it into nice words. That's extremely Cartesian. That's the analytic method. For Spinoza, there has to be a correspondence between the idea and the real thing. Like it has to correspond by necessity. And to the way that and the correspondence here is a bad word because it assumes a split between the two, which is like the correspondence theory of truth, whatever bullshit is. Like it's not how it works. Like it is by necessity connected because a true idea expresses in the Deleuzian terms or like denotates properly, like really denotates, like in sense of like the real denotates a state of affair, right? That it describes, not by being a representation, but by functioning in the same way, by the necessity. And this is why the most crucial thing in Spinoza is the so-called parallelism. It's not, there's nothing parallel. It's the equivocation of ideas and the things they stand for. They function, are the same thing, and as such we can be sure that we are thinking of the real world because they are connected, they parallel each other. And this is why definitions are by necessity true, right? And it's not speculative for Spinoza. For Spinoza, it is like, and of course you can't, like it took me probably 20 minutes to describe this now. You can't do it in a video, right? That's why we're doing it here. But it's the nuance of Spinozan system. That's why he's not Cartesian. It is this sort of more stringent definition of truth, and the way it tries to always run away from the analytic method into the synthetic. Things have to actually interact and not just be, tautologies or like analytic statements. Every bachelor, like every bachelor is unmarried, is an analytic statement, right? Spinoza is uninterested in those things. And if he utilizes them, which he does here, he utilizes them only for the purposes of synthesis later.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, you're good. To understand what substance is, you don't reference anything else. The concept is complete in itself. Now this
I should have explained this better.
Creates a logical problem for any philosophy or any personal investment where you really, really, really want multiple substances at base. Substance
I have a question.
Oh no.
What do you like? This is a spicy one. What do you think of Guiraud's and later Deleuze's statement that Spinoza has multiple substances? I know you know what I'm talking about.
I am going to say
have you drank the Kool-Aid?
So I'm going to say I don't know enough to be able to make comments on that. I do absolutely know what you're talking about. It is not a thing I've dealt with significantly.
Also, because the book hasn't been translated.
Well, that's fine for me. I still have issues with it. But again, I haven't had a chance.
I do too. But it's such a spicy take, isn't it? It's like...
It can be a very interesting and productive take, but it is definitely a spicy take.
It is.
Well, and again, we get into what, like, as we start getting into that, what they mean by substance shifts from Spinoza's. Like, again, Deleuze's Spinozism tends to play with the substance as being the chaosmosis or the abyss or whatever, like all of everything.
The body without organs.
The body. Well, we can have a lot of discussions on all this, but for me, I have just gone way too far down, I think, a different rabbit hole where we're talking at basically about waves, frequencies. We're talking about the oscillation of things and impulses, and how they function in a very different way than substance. And so Klosowski has completely fucked me on a lot of my readings, and so it's a whole thing. I've got to go back and redo a whole bunch of readings and thought on it.
No,
Klosowski's fucked me pretty badly.
Philosophy conundrum. You read one philosopher, fucks with everything else up.
I mean, if you haven't, we did a Klosowski reading again, like every Thursday we try to do it. But yesterday's reading, we hit on to just the most profound writing in philosophy that I've encountered. And I don't say that lightly. It's just so, the way he writes and how he goes about it is so amazing. And it's talking about stuff that is absolutely, pertinent to our discussion here, but he's talking about Nietzsche. And so it's this really wild, yesterday hit me like a ton of bricks. Yesterday's reading was like exactly where I'm having my issues. So that's amazing. I love those readings. You have to like philosophy has to keep you on your toes. You can't never get too comfortable. Yeah, no, yesterday's reading, the chat was even like, oh, this is like doing LSD, because it's so concise, like it's so well written. You just go for the journey with him in 2 paragraphs and it just breaks your brain. And it's so good. It's so good. Fuck.
Distinguish from substance B, the good substance, the bad substance, heavenly or hell, or matter or mind or ideal. No.
One.
All substances, they need to be conceived in relationship to each other at that point. It violates conceptual independence, which means that stuff, that's not the substance. In fact, you kind of...
This would be my argument against multiple substances, I guess, literally. Right now,
it is a good argument. Like it's drinking the Guro Kool-Aid is I don't agree with him. That's why I asked you, right? I don't agree with Deleuze on that stuff either.
But to be fair, I also didn't agree fully with Klosowski the first time I read it through, but I really liked it. And Geralt has that same effect on me. I have no doubt a second or third reading would completely break me. So.
Also, it's a fucking tome. Like, Jesus Christ. Like,
it is not fun.
He spends 100 and something pages not even reaching the propositions. Like, he just discusses axioms and definitions.
Yeah. Fun.
I don't have to go far to see how crucial this line is, because this definition separates 2 completely different types of multiplicities. Yeah, I know. It's a Deleuze channel. I'm going to mention it because it's kind of a big deal.
Again, the time fucking bending.
Can't help it. It's the way it's the way things work.
On the one hand, what he's saying here effectively eliminates a numerical multiplicity, the kind where you can separate things out, have discrete substances external to each other, substance 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. But it actually enables and intensifies a qualitative multiplicity, infinite internal differentiation within the substance itself. See, the substance expresses itself through infinite attributes, infinite modes, infinite degrees of power and complexity. Rather than reducing multiplicity, this definition transforms it from external counting to internal differentiation. Instead of multiple separate things, you get one reality that multiplies itself infinitely from within through its own self-expression.
It's a beautiful summary.
Notice we're still in the definitions.
Thank you. That I can tell you that one took a lot of work. That was a lot of rewriting, because
I bet
it was a lot of rewriting, but it's so important, because one of the things because whenever I do these, I try to watch whatever I've stopped doing this with the more complex philosophers because they're all terrible, but I try to watch like YouTube summary videos or like actual professors who've done like a YouTube thing and like what they try to say. And I look at the comments and I just go, this is one of those things people presume, because this stuck with me because I read a comment where someone's like, so one substance, so what? No multiplicity? Well, I thought Deleuze liked Spinoza, and it's like, fuck. So that made me want to focus. That's why I spent time on this one. It was like, God damn it. No, stop. So,
Since Spinoza has basically obliterated traditional metaphysics that somehow are even dogmatically central to philosophers today. 450 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
Hey, Brooks, why do you get upset and frustrated with pop philosophy shit? No idea. But I mentioned the multiplicity and attributes. And kind of stepping aside a little bit because it's the next definition pulls this out fully. By attribute, I understand what the intellect perceives of a substance as constituting its essence.
Whew.
Now, so, okay. This definition has to solve a huge...
This is like, I know I'm underwater in this. This is easily my favorite of all the definitions, which is like the most pathetic fucking wonk shit you've ever maybe heard in your life. I absolutely adore this one specifically because it's, I mean, I'll go through why, but this is the one that like shifted how I understood Spinoza. So just as if we're doing the behind the scenes commentary on DVD, that would be what I would say.
Huge problem. How can there be distinctions within something that has an absolute unity? Objective, but expressible. That's how he does it. See, attributes he brings out. Attributes are what the intellect perceives, what you perceive when you see things, but this doesn't make them subjective. This isn't relative. The intellect perceives what is there. Attributes are real features of substance. They're not projections of human thinking. However, the reference to intellect indicates attributes are essentially expressible. They're comprehensible. They're constitutive, not external. Attributes constitute substance's essence. This is
Brooke trying really hard not to say not to say formal. It's not to say you're like, and it's.
Can you tell? Jesus Christ! There's so many ways. I don't want to make it. I don't want to stay with wonky terms. I want to fucking. I don't like jargon. When I do these, I try to break out of that, and it's like just imagine what a Deleuze video is going to be like for this. But it's very hard not to immediately go to, because if I say formal, like there's implications of that.
Yeah,
that is tough. Ugh.
I mean, you're doing a good job. It's just like funny because I'm like, you're just like constitutive. I'm like there's a word he's circling that he doesn't want to mention because like formal means many things. Like formal distinction. Like how are you gonna like explain that in a 20-minute video?
You aren't
like 30 something. Like it's impossible. It's just like I just laughed because I had to like see you like actively seeing you struggle to like not jargonize philosophy is really endearing.
I'm more kind of sad that it came through because I'm not struggling active. I think I actually may be struggling even as I'm reading a prepared transcript. Like I've got a teleprompter I'm reading off of here and it still is coming through. And that's the part I'm like, God damn it. Really? Fuck. It's still coming through. Fuck.
It shows that it's difficult. And I mean, of course, I notice it immediately because we've read the same things. I know your sources, right? I know, like, so like I can be like, I know what you're going to say, right? I was like, oh, formal distinction. Like as soon as you mentioned attributes, I was like, he's going to explain them as formal distinctions. Of course, that's what they are. That's what makes them beautiful. It's also one of my favorite.
Fuck you. I'm not going to do that. Fuck you.
It's also, yeah, exactly. It's also one of my favorite. It's probably the best definition because it's like it locks his stuff. Like it's like by understanding attributes, you understand Spinoza. There's no other way about like attributes are the thing. They're the way that we understand substance like directly. But like it's just like you're like constitutive, which is correct. It's constitutive, yeah, of course. And like doing everything not to say formal is amazing.
Shit. That they express or manifest in essence. They actually constitute that essence themselves. See, substance has no essence apart from its attributes. We saw that earlier. Again, these things layer in really quick, right? So this eliminates any notion of a substance substrate that has attributes as external properties itself. And with this, each attribute constitutes an essence completely. Now, Spinoza's later going to show that substance has infinite attributes, but that doesn't mean substance is composed of parts. Each attribute is a complete expression of substance's essence in a specific form. Thought and extension. Thought and an extension, for example. They're not two parts.
You said form right there.
I know.
You fell.
I'm actually going to check and see if it's in my original script because I just
but
you couldn't hold too long.
No.
Substance's single essence expresses itself completely. Following? It's completely sidestepping every other discussion that's been happening. This definition solves the traditional problem of how absolute unity can involve internal distinctions. Attributes are real distinctions that don't compromise unity because each one fully expresses the same essence in different forms. So it's possible both to have a univocity of being where everything is in this substance. Everything is within God, right? And also have a real distinction of forms, because thought can actually be different from extension, right? We're 4 sentences in.
So good.
4. The 5th.
Overall, decent though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, there's more to say, right? You can't.
I mean, it's almost like there's an entire book.
Yeah, like one of the things, like I guess, not that you didn't say anything wrong. Like the what maybe like a bit of nuance that should be emphasized in Spinoza is that when like attributes are what an intellect understands as the essence of a substance, but they are not the essence of a substance. Right? The essence of the substance is substance, right? And we have, and it like Deleuze uses the term expresses itself. There's other ways to understand, like Spinoza doesn't use the word expression per se. He puts it in the terms of like cognizing of a thing, right? Which for Deleuze ultimately is the same thing, but it's not like you never like attributes are a specific form of understanding of substance being, but they're not the essence of a substance. The essence of the substance is just the substance existing, and then you can qualify that in many ways by saying causa sui. That's another qualification. Attributes are another qualification. Power is another qualification. Deleuze focuses on the notion of power, and he says the existence is power to exist, right? And that's his big thesis. Is and an expression is to say, well, power, right? But that might be again rushing a bit too quickly to focus on a specific thing in a myriad of things, which many people have criticized him for, right? Still a great book, better than any of us will write in our lifetimes.
Better than almost anything anyone's ever written in their lifetime. So
yeah,
good on him.
But still, you know, Deleuze deserves to be criticized. He's not a god.
No. No, God is no, he's not. He is not the substance, my friend.
5th. By mode, I understand the affections of substance, or that which is in something else and is conceived through something else. The language is funny, but this definition's talking about you. You, me too, by the way, but you're a mode. Mode. So is every rock, every tree, thought, feeling, planet, idea, video game, fucking whatever. Modes are everything that exists, but they do not exist independently. Everything finite and particular that exists as modifications does so as part of that infinite substance. Modes are modifications, affections, not creations. They're the affections of substance. And this term is crucial. Modes aren't separate things that substance creates and spawns and then they wander off. It doesn't produce them externally. They're ways that substance is affected or modified. Modified. Mode. Get it? See? Say, think of how a wave is an affection or a mode of water. There isn't really a wave there. The way water moves and expresses itself is the wave. The wave isn't a separate entity that like gets put onto water. That's not how it works. Your anger isn't a separate thing that is added to you. It is a way that you are currently modified or affected. Modes exist.
That's a good way to explain modification.
Sorry?
That's a good way to explain modification.
It's an attempt. It's not exact, but
I like the anger thingy.
I mean, it's Nietzsche, I mean, basically, I'm
Is it?
pulling in. I mean, that's Nietzsche talking about waves and all of that. We just went over it in Klosowski. And I'm more or less stealing his example of how he talks about waves not being separate from the water and the mistake we make when we see them as separate. I'm more or less stealing from a lot of people, actually. I'm a plagiarist.
As you should. Any good philosopher does. I'm gonna, like, a little secret for people who are, like, who love Deleuze, but are not maybe best read in history of philosophy, because history of philosophy is a specific discipline as well, right? Not everybody. It's that Deleuze is not a very original guy. Like, he does not, like, his idea, like, none of this, like, he's sort of like a, you know, like he like jumps onto trends, right? Like Spinozism, like Marxism and psychoanalysis, right? But what he's really good at doing stuff. So, like, he's gonna make some amazing stuff with the thing he does, but none of the stuff he did was, like, super original. Like, it's not like he created any movement or anything. Like, he was always sort of a guy, like a weird guy in the corner of a room doing his own thing. But, you know, he did not establish the room.
Yep.
Specifically in something else, namely the substance and its attributes. Now, this is really weird because it's basically building an ontological dependence. See, modes, these modifications, they can't exist independently, but only as modifications of the substance. But this isn't an external dependence, because that would be like a parasite looking for a host. This is internal dependence, like a property depending on what has the property.
Okay. You're going to let me just make the comment about the parasite just pass by? I literally put it in just for you.
This is for me. Oh my God.
Literally only
like,
for you. Of all the people in the entire world, it's the Serre's parasite line.
I was like, because I was just thinking, is he talking about Serre? And I'm like,
of course.
No, he isn't.
Why would I say parasite? It's you. Literally the one person in the world I'm like, as a nod, you motherfucker.
I feel privileged.
You exist in substance.
Also, I love seeing how you basically are doing the synthetic work. Like, you're doing the geometric method.
That's the goal.
You know, like, yeah. But like, I mean, like, you do make it seem like it's in a like it's containing the definition, but you're already, like, connecting definitions and building, like, and creating the movement, right?
Yeah, well, and the entire next video in the series is Genesis. I didn't choose Parasite because of a whole bunch of reasons, but Genesis is about how do I open it? The mistake philosophers or people who read philosophy, I think I say the mistake people who read modern philosophy make is that they think the philosopher's job is to bring order to chaos. Instead, it's to understand that chaos stays with us, the noise stays with us, and that we're creating like I don't remember exactly how I word it. It's more complex, but it's understanding that the chaos doesn't, like, go away. That's because it's the thing you see a lot in Deleuze, Guattari studies, for sure. This idea that, we're putting organization on chaos. And it's like, no, it's still chaos. Like, stop doing that. Stop saying we're getting rid of chaos. But it's trying to build that and then make its way all the way through. It's trying to build a large sort of, I don't know, process of the whole thing. I don't know. It's an attempt. It's a lot more work than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it's also a difficult book, the Genesis.
Genesis is very difficult. Well, there's a reason, like, fucking I did a Simondon with the last one, and that took like 2 months of writing. Marx was before that. That was like a month and a half. And then this is like a solid 4 months. I didn't realize how much work it was going to be to, like, reread, go back through, pull out the parts, make sure the methods, like, how do I make the method happen? Because Serres does in the book, like, Genesis is a miraculous work. I don't know if it's intentional, but it's a miraculous work of showing the thing he's wanting to do. It's why I picked it. I try to pick books that are the method in the creation of them. What a book. Goddamn, what a book. But we'll see.
It's Leibnizianism. Again, like, this is why, I guess we can talk about it later, but this is why all these thinkers at the end of, like, at the latter end of the 20th century, have turned themselves to these thinkers like Spinoza and Leibniz. It's because they have something special in them. And both of them are thinking in genetic terms, in a bit of a different ways, right? And so you have some preferences, right? Deleuze prefers Spinoza for his university. But for example, Serre thinks that Leibniz has a better conception of Genesis because of the notion of the petite perception, the small perceptions, right? That are legitimately the noise in general, in his terms, right?
A rigorous methodology for thinking with chaos rather than against it is my phrasing.
Oh, that's good.
A way of doing philosophy that remains adequate to the turbulent, noisy, multiple nature of reality without surrendering precision or insight. It's been a lot of work to get this written. This is like probably the hardest, because now that we're like, one, there are people, like I made the joke, I think in the last one, that people are alive now who studied under these people. It's not like if I fuck up Spinoza, one of his students is going to come shit on me. They're dead. So like I can say a lot of things and kind of, but now it's like there are people who are alive who knew these people. I don't have as much room. I've got to be a lot more careful, and I don't want to be part of the misinformation that is about that. And so it's the noise in Genesis is so fucking well considered. But yeah, so I made the comment about the parasite in here because that's like, to me, there's a reference I'm trying to build in. It's going to be way later down the road though. Jesus. All right. We'll keep going.
Also have like, why are all the good Deleuzian scholars like Eric Alise or Lapoujade so quiet? Like, where are you people?
They're writing good works because it takes a while.
Yeah.
Like Aberrant Movements wasn't written in a year, right? Like
it's a lifetime of work.
That's it. It is itself a lifetime of work about someone else's lifetime of work. Just translating painting, like On Painting, is so fucking good. And just translating that, I would imagine, is a year or two of solid academic work on top of probably trying to build his own thoughts. It's like Jean-Claude Martin, right? Who's writing, but 3 books, but all of his other books are on other philosophers. And it's like building towards this crescendo of hopefully getting more like original stuff. Daniel W. Smith, the same thing. Like
Deleuze and his stuff, he wrote 10 monographs before writing Difference in Repetition.
Yep. That's the way it works. Is part of the red ball, or the way the red ball exists in the substance, is because modes are always conceived through something else. This establishes an almost epistemological dependence. To understand any mode, you must understand the substance and attributes through which it exists. You can't have an adequate idea of anything without understanding its place in the total system of reality. Right? We get that now. It's actually a thing that is incredibly modern and incredibly important to not just modern philosophical thought, but scientific thought, political thought, ecological thought, anything, you name it. You cannot have an adequate idea of any finite thing without understanding its place in the totality and the system of reality. To understand what you are, you have to understand the system that you are a modification of. This definition establishes a modal multiplicity, infinite variations and modifications within substance without creating separate substantial entities. Modes are real differences, but not independent. They're ways substance expresses its power at different degrees of intensity, complexity, duration. This is a new type of odd multiplicity. There's like an infinite difference through internal variation, rather than external separation of everything into its own unique substance. Every finite thing, every mode is a unique degree of power, a singular way that substance modifies itself, but none exist as separate substances competing for ontological space overall. Substance is still infinite. This definition eliminates the idea of a substantial individuality while creating infinite modal diversity of its own.
Everything finite becomes a way substance is expressing itself rather than in every separate entity existing, enabling a genuine individuation without fragmentation of existence. We get infinite particular differences with a perfect substantial unity. 5 sentences. Let's do the 6th, because we're going to complete the system here.
By God, I understand a being absolutely infinite, that is, a substance consisting of an infinity of attributes, of which each one expresses an eternal and infinite essence.
And here is where it all comes together, that thing that frustrates the religious as well as the atheistic. God is absolutely infinite, right? Not just infinite in some respect. This means God can't be limited by anything external, since nothing external exists, or by internal deficiencies, since God has all the possible attributes. Absolute infinity eliminates the traditional distinction between what God is and what God could be. God is explicitly identified as substance. This is not analogy. This is not metaphor. You know how much I hate those. God and substance are the same thing, considered,
I hate those a lot,
under different descriptions.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, Spinoza basically eliminated any gap between God and nature, to the point where even pantheism is seen as a little gauche. God consists of infinite attributes. Each attribute expresses the same eternal and infinite essence completely, but different forms. This solves the classical problem of divine simplicity. God is one substance, one essence, but we have this infinite world with infinite things at the same time. Yeah, this definition makes traditional theism impossible out of the gate. Also traditional atheism. God cannot be a separate being who,
fuck you, Reddit,
chooses whether to create or intervene in the world. God is the world, considered as a self-causing, self-expressing totality. Prayer and worship, moral commandments are incoherent conceptually. They're replaced instead with understanding, acceptance, alignment with natural necessity, and aligned, well, with you. Because you get what just happened? See, we went through 6 definitions. It's the beginning of the book. And ultimately, we eliminated transcendent creation, substantial multiplicity, external divine intervention, individual substantial souls, and arbitrary divine will, the possibility of existing outside nature. I didn't even argue these things. I didn't even argue any of them. I didn't bring any of them up. I don't give a shit about them, neither did Spinoza. Because what we did is, instead of arguing them down, we constructed a logical space where they cannot be coherently considered. The ethics is
some of the scholiums.
Please,
What did you
August.
say?
Oh, that on that point specifically, he argues about some of those things a bit in some of the scholiums.
Yeah. Scholiums is his polemical shit. But it's an addendum. It's not like a...
It's not the main bro.
Yeah.
But it's fair. He does argue. But even I would say he's not arguing those things. He's arguing, like, it's a slightly different play for him. But it's fair. It's fair.
I just think he couldn't help himself but be a sassy bitch. And so he had to. Like,
Yeah, I mean, he's a philosopher.
we're all human. We're all human, right? I would be too.
What is the point if you're going to read one of the most important philosophical books of all time and not be kind of bitchy at one point or another? Like, you might as well, right?
Yeah, I think
I mean,
like,
look at
philosophy
Nietzsche.
needs a bit of
His
drama.
entire oeuvre is filled with bitch.
Oh yeah, of course.
is a conceptual
I love it.
machine
Yeah.
that transforms every traditional philosophical problem. Free will, divine transcendence, blah, 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 all these things that I talked about, they're trite, simple, and incoherent within a logical space that he is constructing with these definitions. The definitions don't solve problems. No. They've made the problems themselves completely disappear by eliminating the conceptual conditions under which they could arise and that false consciousness could exist. They reconceptualize the relationship they have fundamentally with the world. By the time you've worked through these 6 definitions, you're no longer thinking of the same problems traditional pop philosophy garbage addresses. And that's kind of when actually real freedom starts to show up. That's real understanding too, through the same systematic construction. Spinoza builds new concepts. Spoiler alert. He comes with adequate ideas that express the power we have of thinking rather than an external compulsion. He talks about actions that flow from our nature rather than an external determination. An understanding that aligns us with natural necessity rather than opposing it. And natural necessity is not instinct, whatever you may say.
Please tell me you don't disagree with that.
I don't. I think it's all so far. I would interrupt if I was disagreeing.
Okay, I'm just making sure because that's a specific comment on a. Yeah, I hate people. I hate philosophy. I hate all of this.
Free person. Now, it's not someone who could have chosen differently, but someone whose actions flow necessarily from their essential nature, guided by adequate understanding rather than confused ideas. It's not liberation from causation, but liberation through causation, when that causation ultimately runs through your own essence rather than external forces you don't understand. This is freedom, self-expression, at the core, rather than arbitrary choice. And none of this is an instantaneous flash. This is a temporal process of conceptual construction. It is a machine. You do not just read Spinoza's claim that the free man thinks least of all of death and immediately grasp what it means. In fact, I fully expect after this video some fucking weird self-indulgent jackass big divorce dad energy is going to make it the center of some YouTube channel for people who think that Jordan Peterson's just a bit too cerebral for them. Because it sounds cool. Ignore death, bro. Be free. No. Good philosophy. I still haven't seen this. I'm waiting for it. I still haven't seen the Spinoza turn for the reactionary right, but I do expect it.
I don't think you can do it. I don't think you can do it.
Dude, do not challenge them. Okay? Do not challenge them. They will find a way. They will find a way.
Get James Lindsay on it.
It's not quotable.
That's
like
when I become a terrorist. Like, that's when I do Louis Bangioni.
That's base to lose was a step too far. We'll see what they do next.
Not memeable like that. Something out of context here doesn't keep the meaning. With Spinoza, each definition restricts future possibilities. Each proposition eliminates certain conceptual combinations while enabling others. What we've traced here is profound in almost every way, but we didn't even crack the surface. There are 2 more definitions, 7 axioms, 36 propositions, and that's only in the first 1 of 5 parts of the ethics, and it gets exponentially more complex as you go. By the time you've worked through the definitions and early propositions, you're already going to be thinking in Spinoza's terms. The radical conclusions feel inevitable because the conceptual architecture makes them so. His method is philosophical warfare, conducted through a conceptual construction rather than debate argumentation. He doesn't describe anything from the outside. It doesn't tell you ideas and then argue them. It constructs the conceptual conditions under which these things are possible. Understanding it means learning to think systematically rather than memorizing philosophical riddles. To help with that, this week I will be hosting multiple
blah, blah, blah. That's the end of the video.
Ooh. Anyways, you survived your crucifixion. How do you feel?
I mean, good. I want to go back and I want to do another video on Spinoza now, which I should not do. But I'm
no. Like, leave your work. Like, whatever.
No. I never take it, dude. I left up the original reading of Anti-Oedipus. Okay, like,
oh.
I'm not going to, if I don't take down that embarrassing pile of trash, I'm not going to take any of this down.
Yeah, this is a good video. Like, we're just being nerds.
No, it's the points are there. It's one of those things that we start getting into, I think. If there is a question of our time, and someone asked this question, I think it's actually much larger. It's the philosophy tube or Michael Burns bullshit line of, I think I found the limit of what you can do with philosophy on YouTube. And it's like, so can you not do philosophy on YouTube? Can you not do philosophy in video format because of the limitations we're laying out? And that discussion, I think, is incredibly worthwhile to have because, one, the answer is obviously, of course you can. Like, maybe we don't know how, whatever it is, but of course you fucking can. You can do anything with anything. Stop pretending otherwise. But like how you do it, how you go about it, what you say, how we talk about those things is so fucking important. And I think as we have these discussions and as we talk about them and as this happens, I think these kinds of critiques are incredibly important to figuring out what is the method, what is the setup, like this entire series is about methodology. What is the methodology for creating content that communicates it in a strong way or drives people in that next step? I know you and I have a disagreement on, and I think comes into this, like bad philosophers on YouTube and are they damaging? Do you recommend them? People like Mark Fisher, who I think is trash wall to wall. I used to be of the mind that, hey, whatever gets people to read Deleuze, whatever gets people into philosophy, but that's not the case anymore. Like instead it's, most people think that is philosophy and they stop there. And the people who use it as a baseline to get into Deleuze come fraught with, we'll just say, problems. So how do you contend with all of these things and build content that actually does push things forward or help people?
Yeah, I mean, I think we, at the end of the day, we agree. Like, it's just differently framing question. Because my question is then, like, I would not be so worried about pushing people away from banned content. I think people push themselves once they start reading. But it ends up being the same at the end of the day is how to make good content. And that's it, right? Like, I don't recommend Mark Fisher to people, not because I'm afraid he's going to poison their minds. I just think it's bad book and I don't want to recommend it, right? At the end of the day, it's all about quality and like whether we, like what role other philosophers play in it. Like it ends up being the same thing, right? That's the thing. It ends up being the same thing. Because quality content is going to do what both of us want to do either way. Like, and that's the bottom line.
True. Yeah, it's I don't know. I think how the content is made is something that, you know, I used to joke when I was working in VR, people would say, oh, it's just, when is it ever going to be as big as movies or as powerful as films? And I always used to joke like we could say VR started in the 80s, and that would say that we're at the time. It was a 35, 40-year-old art form. Film has been going for 120 years, and we're still discovering what to do with it. The idea of digital or YouTube or networked mediums of video itself is something that is only like a decade old or 15 years old at this point, and we're still figuring out how to work with it or what we can do with the technology, the layers, the medium, and all of that. And so it's like, what are the tools that allow us to do things? And I mean, this series is my attempt at making the method visible through the series. So as if people start at the first one, as they make their way through, one, it recommends, I think, good books. It doesn't give bad readings, but it's more the process of how to read, which is...
it's a reframing. It doesn't explain things to you. It does not like patronize anyone. And it's not sensational list, I guess. It's like... It takes a more difficult task of actually trying to talk about philosophy as philosophy, and not to like, this is what the 3 secrets Stoics have to teach you about, you know, like.
Yeah.
or like talking about like that fucking video, what's the name, like the video, like that video game Cat or whatever it's called. It's actually difference and repetition.
Oh god,
it's the worst video ever. Like it's worse than anything Plastic Pills ever made.
It's
Epoch philosophy.
It's bad. The Plastic Pills video I actually think is worse because at least like it's most people just watch the cat thing and they go cat. The Plastic Pills thing is like be a schizophrenic actively. It's like, okay, cool. Like you're just a fucking asshole.
The opposite. He read the Wikipedia page. He has not read the book.
No, he doesn't read books. He doesn't read books. He's got too many bracelets. They jangle too much. It's just difficult for him to read books. But even then, you take someone who's got ostensibly, like Michael Burns is my favorite example of this, where he does the opposite. All of his videos on postmodernism and Jameson are about how Jameson is fighting it, or how we can fix capitalism, or how you can protect yourself against it, which is like literally the point of Jameson is that that's the condition, is that lie, that you can fix it, that you're not just already ensconced inside of it, that postmodernism isn't where we are. So that, like, again, the way that people, and I think it happens, I mean, everyone's going to do this. I've done this. Everyone does this. You take in what you read in your own context and you apply it to your life and you just presume you understand it. And that thing is the way that we watch movies, or we read Harry Potter, or we watch TV shows, or whatever it may be. We play a video game. We play from our perspective, and as such, our own satisfaction is the deal. And proper critical reading doesn't work like that. And I think certainly in America, we don't have critical reading skills anymore, let alone reading. If you didn't know, I've got bad statistics. There's
I know, we talked about it before. The illiteracy rate.
It's way worse than people think. But critical reading, this is not just pure literacy. Critical reading just simply doesn't exist and hasn't for a very long time. So when you start having conversations about, well, actually, here's a book and you have to read it a certain way, that thing is lost. Even on the people who are ostensibly communicators, who are supposed to be teaching these things. You see it in like the hyperlogical positivism from the science communicators, for example, who go way outside of their realm and start talking about philosophy and meaning of life and all of that shit, all the way through to pure entertainers who start doing philosophy videos that are basically written by AI and just really boring. They're not digging into the method of critique, which is important.
Yeah, it takes like, and this is why, like, at the end of the day, I have faith in, like, you know how like there's usually like humans are idiots, but humanity is fine. Like I sort of like, because like I know that, like I know that like, and this is, I guess this is Kantian, because like the Kant has this idea that you have to go through dogmatism to reach critique, like in proper thought. Like everybody starts being Plastic Pills. Like, you know, everybody's stupid because you can't really think. Like, especially like you don't have enough material to think. Like we read one philosopher. What can you do while reading one philosopher? Nothing, right? You have to read philosopher, and slowly you sort of build your own space and you like combine and think and develop your own thought. It takes forever. Like I don't know if people know, but Spinoza, it took Spinoza, after already being an established thinker, he was writing ethics for 15 years. And then died. The book is technically not finished.
It is a post-death publishing, yes.
Yeah. He wanted to sort of have it published, like an early version, but he was not done editing it. Right? So it takes an incredible amount of time to produce something good.
And real quick, just because people are asking, in the US, 21% of adults are illiterate. 21% of adults are illiterate.
And the line for illiterate is
it's
there's
very low
above that are not functionally literate.
Well, so that 80% are literate. Half of those are below a 6th grade level. Half of those are below a 5th grade level. So Like, I don't even know how to even conceptualize that. That's 1 out of every 4 people can't read in America. My son is reading at a 6th grade level. He's 8. And again, this is not people can't read. This is a failure of the system wholly. The reason my son can read is because my wife and I read to him. Heather and I read to Dexter, and we gave him a love of reading. He saw that I love reading. Reading wasn't a nerd thing. It wasn't a thing we didn't do. That thing teachers can't do with every kid. Like, this is not a failure of teachers. It's not a failure of any child. It's not a failure of any parent. This is a systemic failure, flatly. And it's not even a joke. The majority of people in prison are illiterate. That's why that's how this works. If you don't understand how systemic crime happens,
wait. Majority of what
3 out of 5 people in American prisons cannot read.
Interesting. This is very interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And illiterate, for people who don't know, doesn't mean that someone can't literally like look at a word and like sound it out necessarily. It's they can't. There's an inaptitude to understand from text, right?
There's specific studies. One of my favorites was they gave very minor directions on the back of a Tylenol or drug bottle, like over the counter, and they asked people to read it. Half of people could not read the directions on the back of a pill bottle. So, yay! I think we're 40th in the world. Like, we're fucked. And we just got rid of the Department of Education, so that'll get better, clearly.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
fuel.
Well,
because a person says, I suppose you don't have to burn books when you don't teach people to read them. It's like, yeah.
Oh, see, you joke. What you don't know is there's actual states, like real states, that when they're planning prisons and how many they need to build, they use child literacy rates in the state to determine how many beds they'll need. That's a thing they actively fucking do in this country.
That sounds almost like from a dystopian novel. Can you give some reference? I'm not doubting. I'm just
no. Let me get references. These are things I have PDFs and reading. I'll find some stuff.
That's actually
it's one of the worst things. I just remember the worst things I ever read.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's no PhD students actually doing a project on this already, but
they probably do. Nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody reads sociology.
Nobody cares.
You think people don't read philosophy? People read sociology even less. People read anthropology even less. Like, philosophy is less niche than other of these things.
I don't know about that one, but yeah, please give reference. I might chat with my sociology professor about this.
Of course, sociologists think people read sociology.
It seems like the bed thing. I'm getting some stuff that this is like a myth.
Really?
I mean, the rate of incarcerated people being predicted by literacy level is true, but using that to plan beds, I can't find something on, at least quickly.
Yeah, give me a bit. I'll dig it up.
Anyways, should we get back to Spinoza?
Sure.
But it's not to interrupt. Talk. But like, I was also thinking we could maybe like for people who were just here for the Brooks video, we watched it. You can leave. This is the end. I'm not gonna like. It was fun having something produced by one of us, and then having to talk to it and like have a bit of disagreement and agreement and here. I like that. This is what sitting with other philosophers actually looks like, and discussing and talking, and it's never like YouTube videos get like, and of course I understand why. Like you need enemies, you need drama, you need to sell, you need to, but they get a bit of like they get a bit spicy, like In reality, disagreements happen like these, where you ask someone what's going on, and they're like, "Oh, well, this is what I thought," and you're like, "Well, maybe did you consider this?" And they're like, "Oh, maybe I should have considered that," and you're like, "Well, I understand why I didn't consider this," and so on and so forth, right? This is like the proper. This is how every philosopher works. Like it's not like there isn't much screaming, and even when philosophers disagree, this is how they disagree, because it's unless they really hate each other, it's all about respect, because you like it's you respect the intellectual work. It's not easy, and you don't shit on it, right? And even when like Deleuze is being his like Deleuze is one of the most polemical thinkers, right? Even with his being like extremely shitty, people he cites he loves. Like he thinks Kant has created one of the greatest things in the Third Critique, right? He when asked, he says the Kantian pure law in the Second Critique, like the moral law, is one of the greatest concepts ever created, because it's law in itself, right, without any reference to anything else. He loves that, right, and so on and so forth, right? So like those are his enemies, like Hegel as well, right? So yeah, it's and that's what makes it fun. But speaking of critique, so a big question that always pops up is, why the fuck Spinoza now, right? And how come that we are talking about Deleuze, talking about Spinoza, we talk about this, and it has a historical reason in the history of philosophy. And it has, Deleuze is not the first thinker. Deleuze is not the most rigorous thinker of Spinoza. Deleuze is not the most rigorous thinker in general. He's great. He's extremely creative, but he's not a Spinoza scholar, right?
I can agree with that.
Right.
I mean,
he wrote
but I'll also say
Spinoza.
His 2 books on Spinoza, one, are amazing. But his shorter book is actually one of my favorite biographies on Spinoza. Like he almost, if the philosophy thing didn't work out, he could have been a biographer. Honestly, it's just a very well written biography on him. Same with his Nietzsche book. He does like a really nice story behind it all. Like I really dig that.
The Nietzsche and the practical philosophy is, if you want, like the way I read it is Deleuzian, like Deleuze's way to understand critique away from Kant. I don't know if you would agree with it, but that's how I read it. It's my sort of spicy take.
Say that one more time for me.
It's a Deleuzian conception of critique away from Kant. So it's not Kantian critique. It's a
pure critique.
Like a Nietzschean. What?
It's pure critique.
Well, yeah, I guess that's how you could say it.
No. Have you not? I think I've wrote.
Yeah. I know, but I don't agree with Deleuze that I would call it pure critique.
No. Have you read Ian McKenzie's book? You will. No, you are going to fucking love it. The idea of pure critique, which basically takes, and again, I think you would have a fun time with it. It takes Deleuze and runs him through a very strange, series of moments through his own works to get to the idea of what pure critique is, and it's fucking awesome.
Right. It's only 80 pages long.
Oh no, it's a short book. It's also the brightest. It's
the co-consultant were all the good Deleuze scholars. Nice.
Oh no, he's Ian McKenzie. I've been very, very I'm glad I found him. Really, really interesting writer. But the idea of pure critique is fascinating, and it's very, very good, I think. So, recommended. I just put the PDF in the chat.
Yeah, I downloaded it. Don't worry.
Good, making sure. But with that, are we almost done here?
We are done with your part.
All right.
Yeah, I want to talk a bit about generally about Spinoza.
Well, let's do that.
You don't have I'm going to sign
out of the YouTubes. I'm excited because YouTube fixed itself. Well, that's not true. I found out I have a YouTube rep, which is interesting. I don't know why I, of all fucking people, have someone, but I do. And so I wrote someone because I've been having issues on YouTube. And lo and behold, it has been fixed. I had a lagging stream or some key or something that needed to be reset that finally fixed itself as we were doing this. So happy day, wonderful day. Here's hoping it stays fixed. Thank all of you for joining on YouTube. Thank you very much. Thank all of you joining here. They're going to, if you want to join more of the conversation, they're going to continue here in Discord, discord.gg/DGQC. If you like what we're doing, head to patreon.com/DGQC. All that stuff's great. Otherwise, I will see you all soon enough.